Welcome to the Trailer Talk podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vera Sandler.
And I'm Dora Grabkowska.
And today we've got another very special guest. This guy and his family have made waves in the UK mountain bike scene by building a legendary bike park. It's allowed so many people to progress with their riding, and it's created good times for all of us. So welcome, James Foster.
Cheers. Thank you. Cheers, thanks for the invite.
James, we have a lot of questions for you today regarding Revolution Bike Park, obviously. But before we jump in, let's briefly talk about your life before you moved to Wales. So could you share with us, where did you grow up and how did you get into biking?
So I was brought up in Sheffield. I'm 48 now, so many, many years ago. I lived in Sheffield for the first 22 years of my life. I grew up on the edge of Sheffield in a place called Totley, which is on the edge of, really just on the edge of the Peak District.
Nice.
So one side of the house you look over the city, the other side of the house you look out and you're over like moorlands and woods and stuff. So I'd kind of brought up in a bit of both, and as a kid I spent a lot of time just riding around on bikes, as you do, like every kid does. A bit later on, when I got to 14, 15, started racing a bit of cross country, way before there was any kind of downhill or anything. And I did a few years, I think 2 or 3 seasons racing like the circuit around parts of the UK and stuff, and did reasonably well. But then got to maybe like 17 or something, and just stopped riding, basically. Probably one of my only regrets in life at that point, that I stopped riding a bike, and life took over. Went out, started going out and all that stuff.
That's like the age, isn't it, when you kind of get amongst like partying and you're just like, wow,
it was just it was just how it was, wasn't it? And I think the riding scene at that time, or certainly the riding scene I was in, was very, very different from here. It was cross-country based, I was racing bikes before suspension forks. We used to, I remember doing racing around the Forest of Dean on like a 21-inch specialised stump jumper, hard,
sick.
Deadly, kind of deadly bike. So I feel like I kind of probably almost started falling a bit out of love with it at that time.
Yeah.
And then
was it very just kind of serious, sort of?
Yeah, I mean,
all just being involved in cross country.
Yeah, I mean, I was never a sponsored or anything like that, but I used to always come in the top 5 or something.
Sick,
and if you wanted to progress, and you had to take it seriously.
Got to be committed, for sure. Yeah. Sick.
Wear
That's
lycra
cool.
all the time.
Yeah. I didn't know you used to race.
There's a classic picture of me somewhere in
I would love
lycra.
to see that.
I think I've put it on Insta a couple of times. But that's just how it was, and don't regret that at all. And then spent my late teenage years up to 20 living in Sheffield, working as I used to be a chef, so I used to work in hospitality back then, and then got to the age of, I think I was 21, 22, and basically needed a drastic change in life, a different direction, kind of, as you say, and out of nowhere, basically booked a trip to Australia, a year. I got a year working visa and basically left Sheffield, went to where did I go? Singapore for a week or something, and then Bali for a few weeks, and then ended up in Australia. And bear in mind, I think I'd been to Spain once or something before then.
So you hadn't done much travelling?
Not really, because I'd spent a lot of
move.
my childhood holidays down in Cornwall.
Cool.
We had done trips away, with obviously the family and stuff, but mainly when I was a bit younger. I think.
Yeah. So why Australia?
Why not? The place I was at I needed a change in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A drastic
Yeah.
change, if you know what I mean. So why not?
Yeah.
And it was literally one of the greatest decisions I ever made in my
Nice.
entire
Sick.
life. If I hadn't made that decision, I wouldn't be sat here now.
Amazing.
Because, I just wouldn't have probably been dead
That's-
or in Sheffield doing nothing, being a chef somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's so cool that you realised,
Yeah.
right, I need to do something with my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah, you
and I'm
need
going to really take a risk and just travel
Yeah.
across the world
I think
and just going to do something different.
yeah,
That's really
and
sick.
so I ended up going to Australia with it was actually a friend who was going on a trip there anyway, and he kind of just said, "Do you fancy coming?"
Sick.
So yeah, I did that. I think we never had plans to spend that whole trip together, and we flew into Perth because, like at the time, I was just going to do the backpacking year as everyone does. Looked into it a little bit, and everyone flies into Sydney, does that trip. I'm like, I'm not going to do what everyone else does, so I flew into Perth,
Yeah.
and I was going to do kind of the loop the other way around, but actually very quickly. Well, the first night I got into Perth, it was about 4:00 in the morning, and we ended up in some backpackers, and some weird shit happened that night, and I was like, I'm never staying in a backpackers again in my entire life. So the morning I actually got up, and it was at the time of internet cafes.
Yeah.
So I remember walking around the centre of Perth somewhere, walked into some internet cafe, seeing like a sign about some accommodate, like a room to rent or something. So I was like, right, go and look
cool.
at that. Went and found this room, which was basically almost like an illegal backpackers, but it was actually it was well chill. So
Yeah.
it sound moved into that, and there was like 6-7 people from all over the world living there, and lots of people came and went from that place, and actually Sash lived next door to that.
Oh, I was going to ask when you met her.
So
Cool.
so I was literally sat on this balcony, and I was in the kitchen one night, and like I say, they lived next door, and because there'd been all these random people come through this house before you'd been friends with people, so they used to just come over.
Yeah.
She come over and like introduce herself. I think I was like cooking some pizza or something like that, and then we literally just became friends from there.
Amazing.
And it's probably, it didn't take long, maybe like a month before I was like, shit, I don't think I'm going anywhere. And I ended up just staying there with Sash for the whole year,
Cool.
which was really cool because I almost ended up, rather than going on the backpacking trail,
Yeah.
I ended up living with a load of just Australians.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind
The
of,
true
I
experience.
was already well into like surfing and bodyboarding at that time. So a couple of the guys who lived in the house were well into it. So literally just spent the year. I did do some work, but a lot of the year just surfing and
Cool.
bodyboarding and stuff like that. So
Cool. That's so cool.
yeah,
So Sash is your missus and who now lives with you in Wales. Which
Yep.
is so sick.
Yeah.
That's a big move as well.
yeah. I mean, I think there's been a few big changes in my life, I'd say, and for me they've always worked out.
Yes.
They're always a bit, is it the right thing to do at the time? But like, you look back on things and everything happens for a reason,
Yeah,
in my
exactly.
opinion.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
so yeah, we spent that year in Australia, and then from there, while I was in Australia, actually, my parents who lived in Sheffield had sold up in Sheffield and retired down to Cornwall because, like I said, we got quite a lot of ties in Cornwall. So when I actually came back from Australia, we moved down to Cornwall, and because I was a chef,
Yeah.
Cornwall's very seasonal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a chef or hospitality, then you can get a job. So I'd actually I think my dad had lined up a job for us before he even got back here.
Nice.
And then we ended up spending 10 years living down there in literally one of the most perfect places you could ever live, like just next to the sea. I could see from my bed.
Amazing.
We had a garden overlooking the sea and the beach that I was brought up on my summer holidays.
Yeah.
We ended up living on that place and spent an amazing time living down there. But I always really didn't know what I was going to do with my life.
Yeah.
And then it was at some point then, while living down there, I was well into surfing. I used to do a lot of travelling, surfing and all that stuff. Any holidays would be abroad somewhere surfing. And then out of nowhere, my best mate, who lives in Sheffield, came down to see us, brought 2 mountain bikes. Because they'd got back into it. One was like a full sus and one was like a hardtail with some decent forks on it or whatever. And then he'd found some place like Pauldice Valley, which is a place down in Cornwall, like, you know, standard local spot, jumps and then, you know, bit of downhill tracks and stuff like that. Still going now, that place. And we went there and literally I hadn't been on a bike for so long. And then instantly I was like, oh my God.
Like, oh, I missed it.
Yeah. And we started like that. There was that first day we went there and we we found this you know, little jump.
Yeah.
Little 4-foot jump or something. And, you know, one jumped it. And then I remember the first time I jumped it and landed on the downslope. Because when we were kids growing, you know, XC, you don't really jump and all that shit. Yeah. And if you did the bikes or the stem would snap off or something like that, so you tended to avoid it. But I remember that feeling of jumping and landing on that downslope, and it were from that.
Sick. I love it.
I was just yeah. And I was kind of a bit falling out of love with surfing as well because I'd done quite a bit of travelling and gone and tried to surf really good places.
Yeah.
That living in Cornwall on the south coast, you know, there weren't that many good waves in summer. It was in winter where you could get decent waves and you could get really good waves, but it's freezing.
Yeah.
So the conditions, as I got better, the conditions needed to be more and more better, which never happens.
Yeah.
Not as nice
So I
as
was like,
Australia.
biking, I can just ride whenever.
Yeah,
Sick.
true.
Cool, so it kind of came at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, kind of, because we lived in quite a remote place, not remote, but there weren't many, an hour to get to a riding spot.
Yeah.
Like, Gorton down on the Devon-Cornwall border, they didn't do uplifts when we were down there, but that would have been the next close place, I think.
So that was already established and going.
I think they built it while I was living down there. And then, because we had to go somewhere to ride, my mate, there's a lot of farms down there, and a lot of my friends were from farms and worked on farms. One of my friends who I'd started kind of riding with as well, he asked one of the local farmers because we'd found this little tiny little valley bit with some trees in it, and they didn't really use it on the farm, so he asked them if we could go in there and start making a few little whatever.
Oh yeah.
And that's where it started. We went in there to start with, and we built these little. We'd kind of done like I said, my mate was a farmer. I was a chef, but I'd helped a very good friend of mine out down there a bit working with him, and we'd done digger work and stone walling and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of built these little kickers out of stone walls and stuff. Literally gaps like.
So you already knew how to drive a machine, sort of a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, the basics.
A little bit, because like I said, I'd done some work with one of my friends down there, so I'd got the basics kind of thing. But we just started building and literally just fell in love with it. Literally obsessed with it. Just took the same as normal. If I like something, I'd give it everything. If I don't like something,
absolutely
different
not.
story.
Yeah.
And
Sick.
I started, just spending as much time as I could down there.
Cool.
And kind of started just building random stuff, building some wooden stuff, and almost started learning the trade, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then over the kind of, I'm very crap at timelines, as you might start working out, but at some point I was, done like maybe a year or something working in this little wood, and I was kind of got my own business at that point, doing going into people's houses and cooking meals and working on this shooting estate, cooking quite fancy meals for them, and I was like starting to turn work away, making excuses not to go and work because I was obsessed with going in, piling up some mud for no reason other than me riding over it. Because it was only me and my mate, because we never told anyone. We couldn't let anyone really know where it was, and to be honest, we didn't really know anyone. But as time went on and it got better and better, it was quite hard to keep it to ourselves.
I guess like the more the progression, like the more you progress, the more addictive it probably got. And you're like, yes, oh my god.
And because I'd kind of got so obsessed with it and really started to feel like I'd asked, how old would I have been then? I'd have been like, I'm 48 now, so I'd have been like 30 or something.
Yeah.
Maybe, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, started to feel for the first time in my life that, shit, is this what I was here for?
Cool.
Because I've never had that until then. I was like, all the work I'd done, it was like, it would work, you needed to work, because if you didn't work, you didn't eat, or you didn't have anything. Yeah. I can't ever say I was passionate about cooking or anything like that. It was, I'd fallen into
like
doing it. But this, I was like, this is what I'm here for.
Amazing.
Like,
I mean,
I was just so obsessed by it. And so then it then the idea started of how can I make this into something?
Yeah.
And it was very different to now. Obviously there's a lot of amazing places to ride now, and there wasn't that many. There weren't that many places back then.
Yeah.
It was hard to like. There certainly weren't many places that were running uplifts all the time.
Yeah.
You could get some like Cumcairn, where they've just done national. That was standard place. First uplift I ever did. And then the idea just started steamrolling, and there was a lot of like circumstances within the family in Cornwall at the time, which were all pointing to a big change for everyone involved. Like, there's just too much stuff going on. Like, say when my brother wasn't that happy in his life with the jobs he was doing, he was like a consultant for NHS. My dad was really becoming not well. That Cornwall's really out on a limb. I was floating through life, being a chef, never going to go anywhere. So everything started pushing towards a big change, and then we just
another change needed.
And then out of nowhere, like the original idea for the change was obviously biking, but it was an indoor place.
Right.
And I'd seen there's a place in America, isn't there, called Revs, indoor. And I'd been looking at stuff like that and thinking, like, imagine something like that in the UK. Like, could that work? And then I just started talking to my brother, who's very different to me, about the idea, and he was like, like I said, everyone wanted to change, so we started looking into these ideas, and we did a lot of work looking towards that. Looked at buildings up in Bristol and stuff, but we quickly worked out it would not work for us. Like, we didn't have the funds to set something like that up, and also we probably weren't willing to take the risk.
It's a huge risk.
You know what I mean?
We're
talking like the size of building we wanted at the time, it was like 250 grand or something a year. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
we're never going to make that. We've got like there was like 180 grand's worth of plywood and,
Yeah.
and wood
I
to
was gonna
build
say,
it
the
and
wood in
stuff. It just
itself.
weren't going to
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
So from that, we went to the idea of an outdoor place, because originally we thought, oh, well, outdoor, you're battling the elements, if you know what I mean.
The
So,
weather.
and then from there we, you know, it steamrolled, and
Nice.
we started looking at land. We looked at a place further south, like in mid Wales, and we did a lot of work to actually do it there.
Yeah.
But luckily, thank God, they sold it. They were basically, I think it was kind of on hold for us to buy, but we were working through a few things to make it happen. Then out of nowhere, they phoned up like, oh, we sold it to someone else.
Oh, no.
Right.
So we're like, fuck, shit, that's not good.
Yeah.
from
But
scratch.
same as normal, at the time you're like, this is disastrous.
Yeah.
Now, literally best thing that ever
Yeah,
happened,
yeah,
because if
yeah,
we'd have
yeah.
done that, I reckon if we'd ended up there, it wouldn't have probably gone as well as what.
Yeah.
Or we certainly
Yeah.
might not have ended up where we did,
yeah.
if you know what I mean. And then eventually we found that block of land, and then it just went from there.
Sick.
And then my mum sold up, Tim sold up, we were in rented, because Sash got our house through her job. Everyone sold up, we moved up here. And
Love it.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
it.
That's so cool. It's so cool because Revs is like, it's just family owned and run, isn't it? And like,
I mean, I
to
think,
the core.
I think it's very, very, I mean, people probably don't really realise, but it's very different from many other places.
100%.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we've literally done, me, Tim, my mum, Sash, and Tim's partner, Joe.
Yeah.
We've done everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We've
It's
not
so
had no
sick.
help from anyone else.
Yeah.
We've had it's just us,
Yeah.
it's just us, and obviously the staff and friends that
For
have
sure.
helped
Yeah,
us
yeah, yeah.
along.
For sure. But it's so
it's
inspiring.
there's
it's
no,
so cool.
all the other places are way bigger. They've got way
Yeah.
more stuff backing them up.
For sure.
Yeah,
They've got
yeah, it's like
investors, all
investors,
this kind
everything.
of
Massive
And,
business plans and that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
we're very different to
Yeah,
them.
that's
so,
really, really cool.
So I feel, over the years, I feel like we did, we've done well to, be up there with
Yeah,
them. kind of
definitely.
thing, I feel. So,
100%.
things are different
Yeah.
now, but like I say, change is not
Yeah,
always
yeah,
bad, is
exactly.
it?
Yeah,
You
So-
gotta look on the bright side.
Yeah.
So you've secured the land, and then if someone was to say, "I want to build a bike park," where would they even begin? Like, what was the first thing that you did to sort of get started?
Well, the first thing we needed to do was you need to get planning permission, don't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Which I don't really want to get into that
No.
now, to be honest, because we'll be
I
We
literally
need, to
sat
get, we need to get Tim on for a separate episode to talk planning.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing about this business. I mean, like, I've obviously done all the work up on the hill, which is the stuff that people see. Do you know what I mean? Tim has done the stuff that people don't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this for now, we certainly wouldn't be where we were or done anything like we have if it weren't for my brother. It doesn't matter what I've done on that hill
For sure.
without what he does,
Yeah.
and he's done the hard work. There's many people that could have probably done what I've done, I'd say. There's not many people at all that
Yeah.
can do what he's done.
Yeah. He's amazing.
He's done
I like-
he's done so much single-handedly,
Yeah.
whereas a lot of people have mass
Whole team,
people
yeah.
doing it.
To do it.
so
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there must be so much admin involved in
it's just
starting something
just
like
that
that.
everything. Like
sure.
like I say, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to be able to go up and do my own thing, and we've both had to do our own thing to make that
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
make it
Yeah,
happen. Kind
for
of thing.
sure.
But like I say, I've got a lot of massive respect for
Yeah.
what he's done, and I'm
100%.
fully aware.
Yeah.
I could have gone up and built all that stuff on hill, but no one would be allowed to ride
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So
Yeah, it's super inspiring. Especially, I understand it even more now that we've got this backyard. It's so hard to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And this is on a tiny, small, non-public scale.
Yeah, I think
So-
a lot of the mountain biking world, we only see one side of things. There's so much going on behind
Yeah.
the scenes with people that
Yeah.
you've never really even heard of.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
without them,
100%.
you don't get to do all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't. You literally
Even
don't
in your
get to
own
ride
backyard,
stuff. Yeah.
because if
Yeah.
they haven't done
Yeah.
all the work to back up the places in
Yeah.
in the past,
Yeah.
stuff like this doesn't happen.
For sure.
So,
Disgusting amounts of admin. And some of the people you have to deal with are just
well, yeah,
around. But yeah, respect. It's so sick. That's so cool. It's such a collab of your whole family
Yeah.
coming together, and then the collab thing continues with like projects you guys have done with your like this bike pack that you've created, but you've collabed with so many like outside people and organizations to like
Yeah.
do cool stuff. Like
yeah.
you guys had was the Quartermasters the first like
I think the Quartermaster
event
was
you
the
had?
first thing
Yeah.
that happened. You know, that came around from, I think Dan helped to sort that out,
Nice.
Afi.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think he was mates with Seb or whatever, and they were looking for a venue, and he pointed them in our direction.
Sick.
And yeah, that was the kind of the first external project, which, you know, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we were like probably, couple of years out of the situation I just said, you know,
Yeah.
in a wood in Cornwall.
Yeah, yeah.
And then next thing, we're like building stuff with all the Red Bull crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a bit
Yeah, it's a massive step up.
weird,
Yeah.
but amazing to be involved in it.
Yeah.
Involved in it. There was many people that made it happen, and
Sick.
I think it was, you know, it was a good thing, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
certainly an eye opener for us, and maybe gave us a slight idea of what maybe we could do.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I think so.
So was that happening at the same time you were building the bike park?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
So the bike
Cool.
park wasn't open yet.
It was open,
Oh,
but
it was open, yeah.
it'd have been on a very,
Still
Yeah,
developing.
very,
Early
very
days.
small scale.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know, when we first started, it was like 10 riders, wasn't it? 10 riders and like
Yeah.
a couple of shit tracks. And when I think the year we opened, it was literally. I remember thinking, does it always rain this much in Wales? Like it didn't not stop raining all summer, and the weather was just awful, and like everything, and obviously like I'd been building stuff in a wood for me and my mate. And then you transfer that to go and like build something on a Welsh hillside for like
Yeah.
people on an uplift to
Yeah.
steam down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go and make something, and then like put literally a day's worth of 10 riders through it. You go up that day after, and you're like, where's it gone? Do you know what I mean? There's just a massive hole through the middle of it. So there was a very steep like learning curve
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
into. To learn how to start building stuff
Yeah.
properly, if
For
you know
like
what I mean.
traffic.
Something that would
Yeah.
last, yeah.
So obviously in the early days, the customers probably had to put up with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like so it wasn't until probably like 2-3 years that the
Yeah,
snowball started really going. You start to learn your ground. You start to learn what you're
Yeah.
doing, and you know when you spend as much time as what I did on that hill, you learn very quickly. I feel so.
For sure.
You know, we went from. I kind of always said like we started off trying to get people, the locals, to come and ride. Yeah.
Nice.
So the first couple of years, you're like, if we can get like 10, 15 local people come and ride, sound. Next stage of that was almost like, as we're building more stuff, learning, building better stuff, can we get people from 2 hours away to come and
Yeah.
ride? Do you know what I mean? We did that. Next stage, can we get people from all over the UK to come and ride?
Yeah.
And then, you know, as time went on, we did that.
Yeah.
And then the only stage after that is, can we get people from anywhere to come
Yeah.
and ride?
Yeah.
You know, can we get people from Europe to come, or
Yeah.
can we get people like to see what we're doing in
Yeah,
America
yeah.
or
Yeah.
Australia
Yeah.
or whatever? And you know, and that's what we set about trying to do. And like, obviously, the projects, the vision line we did with you helped massively with that kind of thing. And you know, and I think we achieved that.
100%.
You know, we wanted to I just always wanted to keep just getting better.
Yeah, sick.
Better, never been competitive.
Yeah.
But
Just
only
wanting to
with
progress.
myself.
Yeah, that's
And my own reasons
Yeah,
why why we gave so much to it.
Yeah.
And you know, there was a stage where a long stage where you couldn't get me off that hill. Excuse me. You couldn't get me off that hill. If I was awake, I was up there.
Yeah, just fully.
You know, and I believe we couldn't have done what we've done without that. You've literally got to give every last
Full
bit
commitment,
to be able to, in the way we were doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
amazing. Can you tell us a bit about the 50 to 1 collab? Because that's like, I don't know, how long has that line been there for now? Quite a long time.
like I say, I'm absolutely rubbish with
It's been,
any
it's
kind
been
of
there
timeline.
ages. And
That
like,
was
It's
kind
been
of one of
there.
the first ones, right?
Yeah, I mean,
One
we
of the first
built the first one years and years ago,
Yeah.
and it must have been 8 years ago.
Yeah,
9 years
yeah.
ago. I don't really know, to be fair.
because at the time, like, I remember seeing it go up and being like, oh my God, these are the biggest jumps I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're like in a public bike park. That's the sickest thing ever.
Well, because we, I'm trying to think really, there'd been some forestry work done up there.
Right.
So, they'd been up, they took machines out, took machines through it, took a few lines of the trees out, and then I think I was just up there one day and the free ride lines was there in some degree, and I'm like, we need to put something bigger down here.
No.
I think I'd been watching, like, I used to watch stuff about mountain biking. I don't really watch anything anymore.
Yeah.
But I remember watching, like, some, you know, the Coastal Crew,
Yeah.
Yeah.
some of their stuff.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I remember
Like a big
seeing,
air
like,
kinda jump.
these,
Iconic jump.
yeah, and
lines
they'd,
stuff.
like, you know, they were, like, really nice shapes and all,
Yeah.
like, big, and I was like,
You're like, I want that.
I need to make something like that. And so I started, same as normal, come up with an idea, talk to my brother about it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, sounds like a good idea, putting a bigger line in. At that time, we probably, you know, the 50 to 1 lot would see him every so often.
Yeah.
And I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Tim talking to Sambo
Right.
and said that we were going to build this line of whatever it
Yeah,
were
yeah.
going to be,
Yeah.
but something bigger.
Cool.
Would you lot want to be involved?
Cool.
And I'm pretty sure that's how it went.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're all sound, aren't
Yeah.
Yeah.
they? You can't not be. At that time, they were all wild as hell.
Yeah.
And you're
wild,
guaranteed
yeah.
to always have a laugh with them. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? We
sick.
spent time.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, I spent way more time on it than anyone else, but
Yeah.
they don't live there.
Yeah.
But they'd
Yeah,
come,
yeah, yeah.
you know, I'd get a lot of work done. They'd come
Yeah.
down, we'd slap stuff up,
Yeah.
do what
Yeah,
we
yeah,
could, ride it a bit, and that's kind of how it came about.
yeah.
You know,
Cool.
there were, I remember several times where there was like literally about 15 of us asleep in shelter at bottom of hill. You know, we'd work all
Yeah.
evening, sleep in shelter,
Sick.
get up in the morning, get back up there,
Love it.
carry
Yeah.
on.
Cool.
That's
And that's
commitment.
kind of how it happened, yeah.
yeah.
And like I say, it was good times because
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're all good friends now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And you guys still have like regular jams
Yeah, we did
up
one
there
last year.
on the line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one last year
Yeah.
with them, and I'm not sure if we do. I'm not sure if we're doing one this year, to be fair, but we almost certainly will do
Yeah.
again. I'm just actually trying to sort out doing. That's the one line I want to get a bit more work done, not done on, so we're just sorting out now like a weekend of some of the new 50 to 1 crew. You know, like the younger lot
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
coming through.
Yeah.
I think they're all
Yeah.
keen to come down and give
Sick.
Sam.
Sick.
I'm gonna like give it a good refresh. And
Yeah.
Sick.
So
It's cool how you're getting new generations of people
Yeah,
now
yeah.
getting involved and like bringing their
yeah, I mean
skills
it's
and, like,
how
it's
times have
sick.
changed. Like
Yeah.
last time I seen Rat, he's obviously a dad now.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah.
And you know,
That's sick.
slightly more sensible
Yeah.
than the early days. But, you know, they're all really, really good guys, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure.
Sick. So you did a collab with 50-1, a few other projects as well, and then you did a collab with Vero on the Vision line.
Yeah.
And how did that come about? How did you kind of come up with an idea of the line? Was it kind of like a joint effort? Did you plan it together? How the line's gonna look like? Well,
Well, it was all James, really.
Well, we kind of, like, where the Vision line is now was, I remember literally, like, at some point in the first year of being on that hill, like, and it was probably inspired slightly by the Coastal Crew and all them, all the nice shapes and all that stuff. I remember going up that road and thinking, one day I'm going to build something amazing here.
yeah.
But I remember also at the time thinking, I can't do it now because, one, I can't actually really build anything amazing. I don't have the skills yet. I don't have the machinery. I don't have anything to produce what I want to. But so I'm like, we'll go and get on with everything else, and sooner or later we'll come back to it. And then obviously roll on X amount of years, and you know, I'd got a crew working with us. We'd got all the machines we needed. I knew the dirt, I knew everything, and I'm like, you know, this is the time. So we set about, you know, the process of starting that, and it just so happened that was the time Vera and I met you, innit?
Yeah.
And they were looking for somewhere to you know, do something, and obviously it was just meant to be.
It just happened, yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect
we literally
timing.
came up and we were like, we want to do this project. Like, do you have anywhere that we could kind of collab on a line? He's like, well, it turns out we're literally about to start one right here. And we were like, damn.
I think we did near enough, just like got the machines there, haven't we?
Yeah,
So.
yeah, literally, you'd like cleared it all and stuff.
And
so yeah, that's so sick. And yeah, like you said before, like there's literally people from all over the world that have come to ride it.
Yeah.
Especially when you guys, like when you were shutting a couple years ago, there was people from like all over Europe wanting to ride Vision and 50.
Yeah,
and,
I think that's one
so
thing
cool.
we really did notice in the last, say, year.
Yeah.
Like even before obviously we announced we were going to shut, before, there was a lot of people coming from Europe to come and ride. And you know, I'm totally not saying they definitely weren't solely just coming for us. They were coming to ride us, Dovey, Bike Park Wales, wherever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They were mainly probably us and Dovey because we're like quite a close area. Yeah. And you know, loads of them come.
Yeah.
Loads of them come. There was like, I've got it on my phone somewhere, but this kid, someone messaged out of nowhere, and they're like, can we ride this weekend? We've just like been on, and it was like Friday night or whatever. Can we ride tomorrow? We've just been on the website and it's fully booked, and we can't get on. Standard that is.
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh, but we've driven quite a long way, and so I'm like, I don't normally deal with messages, to be fair, but I think it come through to my Insta or whatever. So I'm like, all right, where have you come from? They'd literally driven 25 hours from like literally the far side of Europe. I can't remember exactly where it is, but I've got it on.
25 hours.
25 hours driven, worked out fully booked.
Imagine saying to them, nah, sorry.
So obviously I'm like,
Sorry, boys.
So I'm like, of course you can. I don't think we even charged them for it.
Nice.
They rode 2 days, got back in car, drove 25 hours back.
Wow.
That's commitment.
And I'm
Wow.
like, Jesus, that is crazy, man.
That must have made you feel so proud of what you
I mean,
created.
I mean, they were coming to ride.
Yeah.
You know, Vision line, really.
Yeah, Vision
So-
Line is like definitely one of them jump lines that looks super intimidating, but then you ride it and you just cruise through
I mean,
it. It's like so perfectly built.
You don't need to do anything, do you, really? As long as you make the first one, I think you just gotta roll with it, haven't you?
Can't hold the speed,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
But that's huge, like, testimony to the builders, you know? Like,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
The way it's been built is so sick.
I think I was thinking about that on the way here, like, because everything you build, I feel like you go, as soon as you ride it, you could go like, right, we make that better, we can make that better. But I mean, we made that vision line, and I think there was a couple of little changes in the very early on, only like changing takeoffs.
Yeah.
But literally, I don't. If I had to go up there and change something to make it better, I don't actually know what I'd do. To be honest. Whereas every other track and anything else I've ever built, I could pick a few places where I make that better. But with Vision Line, I don't actually know what I could do other than like tarting it up and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We've never had a need to change it.
Yeah, you've never thought like, oh, let's take this feature out and put this instead.
Yeah. It's like
It's
literally
just
perfect.
literally
So I think that's. Yeah, I think
that's cool.
That's why people would drive 25 hours to ride it, you know. Like.
And obviously there's you know how things happened with you on that line as well. You know how what you lot all brought to the party really did. If we'd have just built it might have ended up people on the other side of the world knowing about it, but they certainly wouldn't have in the time frame and and all that.
But that's what I think's so cool about Revs is you guys are so up for doing collabs with like riders and stuff, which is a huge benefit to us as riders. But I think it benefits the park as well, and it's so sick that you see value in that.
It definitely works.
It creates
both
so
ways.
much hype for people to come.
It's almost better for us to do something like that. To be fair, I can't see that there's any downside to it. The only downside would be if like someone was like, "You've got to build this," and it didn't align with what
you're like, it's
we
not going to work.
should be on the hill. If you know what I mean?
For sure.
But I can't see that happening.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got obviously things have changed now. So there's a few spaces up there that I believe at some point something will come along, some more riders or something, some other projects will come along.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've got a couple of places in mind on the hill to make them happen when they come around. When or if they come around, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And if they don't come around, I'll do it anyway by myself.
Yeah. It's cool how it happens, how you have an idea for something and then you just wait and you think,
I mean,
at some point it will happen.
Yeah, like I've always had like the long-term plan.
Yeah.
What goes on that hill, which has obviously changed quite a lot since obviously we had to shut and chop the forest down.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot of stuff on that hill I want to build, and I will do. It's just the time frame of it and when.
Yeah.
For sure.
At the moment, I'm not in no rush.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
I'm very different now than what I was.
A
couple of years ago.
Yeah. So
go on.
Go on.
I was going to say, like, so you guys obviously had to shut for a period because you had a tree disease. Is that like you were saying before about how at the time, like in life, a lot of times you're like, oh my gosh, this is the worst, and then after some time you're like, that's for the best. Do you feel like that with you guys shutting? Like, have you found any like positives that come from that? Because it's a pretty gnarly thing to go down.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's at the time. It was literally the worst thing ever. It was like someone was going to kill my child.
Yeah, like a brain child.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you know, dark times after that.
Yeah.
Very, very bad times.
Yeah.
And I'd gone from like knowing where I was at and like knowing what I was going to do roughly the day after.
Yeah.
Knew what I was going to hopefully be doing in a month.
Yeah, for sure.
Had plans for what I was going to be doing in 6 months and plans for what I'd be doing in the following years, and then overnight it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone, and like, you know, we had no idea really. Well, everyone's seen what happened, didn't it? We didn't know whether we were going to come back or not.
Yeah.
Literally, there was most of the time I didn't think we would be able to be honest. So it was very, very bad and depressing. And then it kind of got to a point that I was not in a good place. So I was like, I need to do something about this, because if I don't actually do something about where I'm going, I don't really know what could happen. So the big turning point for me was when I actually I went and did some work in Austria, went out there for a few months. But I was like I said, I'd gone from not knowing everything to nothing. So I was like, I'm just sat here doing nothing. I don't know where I'm going or anything, and that's not a good place for me. So rung Tommy, one of our mates in Austria, and said, "Hello, is there any chance coming out and do some work?" And he's like, "Yeah, sound." So that instantly gave me a day that I was going to start doing something.
Yeah,
And
cool.
then that gave me a little bit of direction while time went by on the
while
hill.
you're waiting.
And, you know, while it just gave time to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, I went out there for, I think it was 3 months or something. It worked out there, which good, amazing.
Yeah.
Happy with what we built out there. It was a really good experience to be somewhere else, but there's no place like home. Do you know what I mean? And then I got back from that, and I think things slowly started moving.
Nice.
And then there was, same as normal conversation with my brother about what are we going to actually do.
Yeah.
And then I think that, and then we kind of had the option to start going again. So it was like we've worked our asses off for 12 years for relatively nothing. So it's either throw it all away or try again, but with the knowledge of what you have.
Yeah, cool.
And like I've spoke to a few people about this, like, if you run a business and it's doing relatively well, it's very, very hard to change that. Like, change the core business, if you know what I mean, and how things have happened, because it's like, it's impossible, everything's just happening all the time.
Yeah.
So this gave us a chance to, like, look at the overall picture and work out, should we do something differently? Should we run it differently?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
This is our best chance ever. Because, like I said, I don't believe many businesses get this chance to restart in maybe a different way.
Yeah, cool.
So that's such a good way of looking at it as a positive.
So that's the kind of way
like,
where we are now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just, there's long-term plans to bring for that place to be way better than it could ever have been as it was. But they're like longer term plans that involve a lot of stuff that not just me and Tim can do.
Yeah.
As in we need there's people, we've got like an architect helping us.
Cool.
We've got people in various roles who've all come out to help and volunteer to help us after the situation we ended up in. There's a lot that this side of things you're almost better talking to Tim about. Give you way more like details and stuff. But there's some amazing people trying to help us.
Cool.
I'll forever be grateful for that.
Yeah.
And if our plans work out, it will be way better.
Yeah.
Like, the hill now is obviously very different, and I believe in a couple more years it's going to be way better forest and place to be than it could ever have been.
Cool.
You go up there and there's been 40,000 trees planted on there. And there's a lot of natural regrowth. There's 14, 15 different species of trees up there. There's loads of broadleaf. It's going to be a beautiful forest.
So felling it has allowed like a load of the kind of native stuff to thrive.
You get a lot of the regrowth from whatever tree was there before, because obviously they drop the seeds and stuff. But then you also get like a lot of the native species that come through. So like I think silver birches are they're like the pioneering trees. So if you go and fell a block of land, they're the ones that are going to come through first, and then lots of other ones follow. If you go and look, like the bottom section at Freeride, off that last fire road.
Yeah.
Like there's trees all around that now.
Yeah.
That's all natural regrowth.
Nice.
So that's all what's just happened from when we thinned the forest around.
Yeah.
And then everywhere else has been like I said, planted with lots of different trees, and some of them are like 4 foot, some of them are like
So
Cool.
it's completely changed, and I remember the top of the bike park being, it was a beautiful forest, but it was like always really dark. And I think when you reopened, turning up to the top of the bike park, and it was completely different. It's like you're in a different place.
If you go up there on a nice day, I'd say it were better. You go up there on a not nice day, it's way worse. It's way
so
worse.
dark.
Do you know what I mean? But I don't feel like, I'd say at the top of the forest, there's a lot of the pines obviously up there, because the broadleafs wouldn't grow that well up there. So as you kind of drop down off that first top fire road, that's where it changes a lot into the broadleafs. We're probably only like 2-3 years off it being like 6-8 foot trees up there.
Yeah.
Which is,
Cool.
I know 2 and 3 years sounds like a long time, but when you get to my age, when you get old like me, 48, it's not that long.
Flies by,
So
for sure.
them trees have been in the ground well over a year now.
Yeah.
I remember not long ago thinking they're never going to grow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And now I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That seems quick to me, like they've shot up.
Honestly, it's mental.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's just standard. Like some places and some trees are doing amazing, some aren't. You know what I mean? But the majority, I'd say, especially of the broadleafs and stuff further down there, they're doing absolutely amazing.
Sick.
Like I built that push-up track like sometime early last year, and I had to like literally take hundreds of trees out because they'd planted exactly where I wanted it to be. Took them out, built the road path or whatever, put the trees in again alongside, and some of them are like booming.
Cool.
Yeah.
And, so it's this last couple of weeks I've really, it makes me smile going up there seeing
Sick.
it, to be honest.
That's such good news. I'm so
it's good
stoked to hear
see.
that.
And I think it was, like I say, there was times where you're like, that's the worst thing could ever happen, fell in that forest.
Yeah.
But go and look at it now and think of it in the long term way that I do. Rather than being sad, it's like it's not like wow, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So it's so sick to see that there's like so many positives coming. I'm excited for the
I think
evolution of Revs.
the future's good. I think it's things have slowed down, like the pace of it, if you know what I mean. Like I feel like we used to be in like, I've said it to a few people, in like football terms, say, not like I'm into football, but we used to be like mid-table in Premiership, say.
Right.
And we were always going to be there. And we weren't going to ever be at top, but we certainly weren't ever going to be at bottom. And now I feel like, because of what's happened, we've like dropped down into like the lower leagues kind of thing, which like is a good place for us to be because there's no pressure on us.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to take the pressure like I used to.
Yeah.
So we're gonna like just carry on as we are, built just on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
How we're running now is really working for us. It's going really well.
Amazing.
We don't need more people there.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna, just do what we do and just carry on building stuff on a slower, it's a slower scale, which is a bit hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've got my head around that, and I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Sick.
Yeah.
And the only thing that matters to me now is that the people that come have a good time.
Yeah.
If they come and have a good time, nothing else matters.
For
Because
sure.
they'll, and I feel like they are, because they keep coming back, and
For
we're
sure.
getting the numbers we want.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely shows.
And if we can maintain them numbers, it will help us grow. If you know what I mean? So,
Cool.
and I'm just going to try and enjoy my life and enjoy trail building and the other stuff I do while it happens, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Until you come up with the next big idea.
Until something comes
Something
along.
will come up,
Yeah.
I'm always keen for anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't feel I need to go and chase anything.
Yeah.
Wanna,
It will just come to
I
you.
just like doing my own thing.
I love it.
So-
That's so sick to hear.
Cool.
You guys are killing it. And I spoke of collabs before, but there's one that we're going to be doing. Like, obviously, Sam and I are doing our backyard battle event in June. And then we're going to have a public day at Revs at the end. So super excited about that.
So
That'll be sick.
it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that, and obviously appreciate you bringing that to the place. And it should be an amazing day for.
Again,
for
it's
the
like a
people.
win-win, you know, like sick for us. And to be able to bring all our riders from this event from all over the world to Revs is so sick, because it's such like a important place to us.
Nice
And
one.
especially to me, because it's like, without the place, I wouldn't be half the rider I am now, you know, so.
I doubt it.
I'm for sure. I literally moved here because Revs is around the corner.
I mean, it's worked for a lot of people, hasn't it?
100%.
You know, it's worked for us to have people like you around, and and it works for you, like you got somewhere to ride or another place to ride, isn't it?
Definitely.
So, you know, and over the years, it goes back to what I've just said. I think as long as everyone's having fun,
Yeah, exactly.
if everyone's having fun, it keeps it going,
That's
doesn't
all
it?
you need,
So, and there's always been a good vibe there.
Definitely.
And
Always,
it's always like, it's always just chilling, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got time to, there's no rush there.
Yeah.
No.
You don't need to rush about trying to get on every uplift and
For sure.
stuff. You can spend an hour, 2 hours talking shit with your mates
Yeah.
and still get easy enough riding enough.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's one of the other reasons why we've done well as well. So.
Definitely.
And also what's good about it is you can stash different bits as well. Like not many bike parks have that, where you can stop and push up and do the same thing over and over. It creates that kind of chill vibe where people get together and ride together. It's quite unique as well.
Yeah, I think, agree. I like, you know, we've just actually done quite a bit of work around the start of the Vision line and the new Continental line we've got there, just to try and make more of like a hangout area as well.
Yeah, cool.
Like, it's not finished and far from finished, like same with everything. But you know, that is the thing, to sort that area out and encourage people to session that area, because like if you go and people come and obviously can ride the place on an e-bike now, or even just or they can actually just come and session it. So they'll just pay the 15 quid for the day, push up to top at Vision or whatever, and they can ride it as many times as they want, or they can pay like a £5 and get a lift up, or
you
get
like
one lift, you know. And if you go and do that, you can ride it so many times that you can't on an uplift.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like if you go on the uplift, most people I'd say are happy doing like 12 runs or something like that. So that's 12 runs on Vision Line if you hit it every time. That's 12.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, do it 12 times in an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my god. The amount of laps you can do on e-bike.
So I'm not.
insane.
If you wanted to like get better at jumping,
Yeah.
I think actually Chaos. He did it once, didn't he? Like on some canyon
Yeah, he
e-bike.
did for a video. Yeah.
Like there was some new e-bike coming out, and they called it like the Power Hour or something like that.
I
And
remember that.
Chaos did Vision Line. Someone else rode uphill, mountain or whatever, and someone did laps or something. And Chaos did, I can't remember the numbers, but it was something mental, like...
It was like, how many laps can you do in an hour on the e-bike, right?
But they had like the stats, and they'd done like, it was either like 150 or 250 like jumps, not laps, actual jumps in an hour.
That'll be mad.
We like...
Insane.
If you want to get better
amazing.
at... If you want to get better at something,
Yeah.
surely you could... That's the way to go, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Doing laps on the uplift, you're never going to get that volume of riding.
Yeah.
So it works because the hill can be used in a different way.
Yeah. To suit so many people and so many riders.
Like
That's so
I
sick.
go and ride on e-bike there quite a bit. I love it.
Yeah.
And then I've kind of started riding the uplift a bit more recently because I've spent a lot of time not riding, to be fair. And it's a very, very different day. Both good.
Both sick,
in my
yeah.
opinion.
Definitely
But
depends what
very
you're there
different,
for.
so it depends what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually interesting how it worked out with the e-bikes coming onto the market. You know, you allowing e-bikers come up and
Yeah, I
lap,
I literally
basically.
love e-bike.
Yeah.
Like, someone says like,
Big e-bike guy.
you're like, it's cheating.
No, it's not.
Literally,
one
don't
yet.
talk to me then, because I will argue to death about how amazing
argument.
they are. So, you know, I'm a massive convert for them. I think they're amazing.
When is your e-bike brand coming out then?
Revolution e-bike.
No,
Not giving you ideas.
yeah,
or anything,
no,
they
that's
are
definitely
unreal.
not going to happen.
but sick. Never say never.
No,
Well,
I'm for easy life now.
Yeah.
I want to make that. I want to make that place better. Do what I can to make sure people have fun there, and that's it.
Sick.
Cool.
So
That's an unreal ethos.
Yeah.
Big up. Excited
Sick.
to
yeah,
see that.
nice one.
Well,
Thanks for coming on,
thanks
mate.
so much
Thank
for coming
you.
on.
Stoked to chat.
We normally do a postcard review at the end of each episode, but we messed up the logistics. So
It was our fault.
our
But
fault.
James,
So the postcard is coming.
Me and my lad will do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
sick.
excited for that.
So we'll put that up on Instagram for everyone
Yeah.
to see. So yeah.
So yeah, if you haven't already and you have been to Revs and you have an e-bike, go check it out because it is so
yeah,
much fun.
unreal place.
Big up, mate.
Right,
Cheers,
thanks so
nice
much.
one.
See you soon.
All right, then.